What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Tap. My name is Michael, and this is John. And typically I say this is a fantasy football podcast. However, kind of switching it up today. We are an NFL podcast today. Isn't that right, John?
We are a football podcast, and we are back, guys.
Yes.
Little hiatus at the end of the fantasy season. I made a little brief stint and recovery to give you guys our listener league winner and the recipient of the Kyler Murray helmet. That even though we will be still be doing fantasy, so we will still be doing a listener league next year more than likely. So make sure you guys, if you guys want any part of that, make sure you guys are staying tuned. Oof, it's hard to say that.
Staying tuned. Yes.
Tuned in.
Tuned like a tuba. Tuned like a tuba.
Do you tune tubas?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you tune any instrument. I don't know.
I wasn't a band.
I am not a musician. I don't know if you can tell, but I am not a musician. But yeah, no. So we just especially with the playoffs, John and I have had a lot going on, so we haven't been able to be on do the podcast as much as we wished and wanted to. However, we thought this would be a fun, easy, laid back would be a better term, way to bring you guys the podcast, talk more football, talk fantasy football each episode, but also just talk football because at the end of the day, we all love football.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't love football, are you truly... I mean, if you don't like football in general, then you definitely aren't watching these fantasy football podcasts to begin with. So welcome in anyways. But Let's get into the show. We are going to be going over, as we're entering the NFL playoffs, the playoff matchups and our predictions for who we think are going to be winning these games. If you guys want to keep a tally, maybe throw some bets down. I didn't recommend it. This is Florida that we're recording out of, so I can't give any betting advice. But I can give some recommendations. Then
Isn't that the same thing as advice?
I'm not Webster. I didn't look at my dictionary this morning, but as far as the law is concerned, I am also not a lawyer. So moving on. We're also going to be talking about some of the recent coaching firings, as well as some of the open positions and some of the names that are floating around in the pool of people that teams are looking at, and talking about who we think might be a good fit where and why some coaches didn't succeed where they were at, or if they were ever really a good coach to begin with. There's someone in here that me and Mike both hate. Mike does have a burning passion for him, so we'll make sure to rip in him nice and hard. And then before we wrap, no, he never played for this coach. Before we wrap it up, we will give you guys some dynasty football or dynasty buys in fantasy football for this offseason that you guys are going to want to be targeting. Don't necessarily agree on every single one of them, so you will get both sides of the coin for some of these players.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
So Mike, let's jump into the playoffs and the predictions that we got going on.
Yeah. Yes. Let's go. Let's jump into it. First, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders going into Cincinnati, playing the Bengals. Listen to this, John. Longest NFL playoff game win droughts. There's bad punctuation there. Longest time a team hasn't won a playoff game. Anyways, Cincinnati Bengals, tied with the most, 30 years with the Detroit Lions. So tied for the longest drought in the league without a playoff win. That is the Bengals. Guess who's fourth?
Who is fourth?
Technically the Las Vegas Raiders only have 1 year, but the Raiders in general, 18 years.
18. That's a big difference.
Yeah, definitely a big difference. But they're only the fourth. So either the last or the fourth to last is one of them is going to end the drought at the end of the day.
That's great to see. Pretty much most of the other teams in the playoffs are returning from last season, or we've seen them in there in the last 10 years. So it's nice to see some teams like the Bengals and the Raiders back there. I do know, we're both avid Dolphins fans, that our name is in that list, somewhere in that grouping, not very far away. It's been a long time since we won a playoff game.
We're between the Bengals and the Raiders.
So we are third. So we are rooting for the Raiders today because they're not even close to us. We would like to at least have a couple teams.
Technically, we're closer to the Raiders with 18. We're at 21. Bengals are at 30. So we're closer to the Raiders technically.
I'd rather be third than second after this weekend, Mike. The Bengals win. They're gonna.
Third.
I'd rather stay at third than drop down to second or move up to second.
Okay, yes, you're right. So let's go Raiders.
Let's go Raiders.
We got
Derek
our
Carr.
Raiders. Rest in peace, John Madden. So, anyways, what do you got here? Obviously, the Bengals are favored. I mean, first of all, actually, before we jump into this game, what did you think about what did you think about the ending of the Raiders-Chargers game, or just the Raiders-Chargers game in general? I mean,
I think it was a great game, a great way to end the regular season.
Yeah, definitely didn't disappoint.
Pretty much this entire season's been very, very nicely filled with a lot of exciting games, and this was another one of them. I am not on the train with everyone else thinking that the Raiders were looking to take a knee and take the tie until that, late timeout. Realistically, like everyone else is saying, you're playing a football game to win the game, and I'd rather be playing against Cincinnati than going up against Kansas City this week. And tying it out just so the other team can make the playoffs too. No.
Yeah, I'm not. John, listen, if you and I are if we're close to tying in something and I have the opportunity to beat you, I'm beating you. Just to make you feel that much worse.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity, but you wouldn't have that opportunity, Mike.
I always have that opportunity.
I will coach that team into victory every time. So let's jump into this Saturday's game. It's the first playoff game that we're going to have. And as you mentioned earlier, the Bengals are favored to win by 5 points currently. It's got an over-under 48.5 points, which is a pretty solid range. You'll see it through the rest of these games. As far as my predictions for the game, I would be smashing the Las Vegas +5 because I think the Vegas Raiders, which doesn't really flow very nicely at all, but the Vegas Raiders really have an opportunity to just dominate Cincinnati. I know Burrow's coming off of 2 very hot weeks. He's thrown like almost 1,000 yards in 2 games. But realistically, I'm looking for Derek Carr's offense to keep it up, that defense to slow down Cincinnati, and them to keep it a close game and inevitably just win it out. Derek Carr's done a great job this season of leading those overtime games, those fourth quarter drives, and I think this is another team that's beatable and they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. So you're thinking the Raiders are going to win in general?
I think the Raiders win outright. So obviously, I take the points.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, it's funny. So I've been talking to a bunch of people about this. Both of these teams are teams that have had some very bad losses. The biggest one that comes to mind is the Bengals losing to the Jets.
Yes.
But they both have had some very good wins. Great
Absolutely.
wins. So I would not be surprised. Like I'm not going to be surprised at who wins this game. Like I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, the Raiders won this game, or oh my goodness, the Bengals won this game. But I have the Bengals. I think their offense is too explosive. The Raiders have overcome a lot during this entire season, which I don't think should be overlooked whatsoever because it's amazing. I mean, it really is. When you look back at everything that they've overcome. They've overcome, obviously, John Gruden, Henry Ruggs, Damon Arnett, the cornerback or whatever that just got another DUI on their team. A ton of obstacles this team has overcome. Still made the playoffs. I don't think enough credit is going to go to the interim coach Rich Bisaccia.
It could. I mean,
Bisaccia.
he's fighting for his job this week. I mean, he's making a statement. They win this game, break that 18-year streak. You have to bring him back, right?
I mean, yeah, I would think so. But then again, John, we're not NFL GMs.
Not yet. We're getting our start.
Yeah, we're getting our.
It's a long road, boys. It's a long road. We'll get there though.
Long-term goals.
All right.
So I mean, I am taking the points here with Vegas for sure as far as betting goes. But prediction, I think the Cincinnati Bengals take it with a close win over the Raiders. So
yeah. I don't know, man. I'm gonna take Derek Carr. I love that Joe Burrow's really exploded this year and has looked very good. And if it wasn't the fact that he played Kansas City and balled out last week in a must-win situation, I don't think I'd be as hot on him. And the only reason is he had that 525 game against Baltimore. That was their like third and fourth string corners, second string safety, one injured linebacker, literally almost a practice squad defense. So I would expect him. He is obviously good. A bad quarterback would still have a bad game against that defense. He's obviously still good. I just don't know if I trust him to stay consistent. And I think Derek Carr has, even throughout his, like you're saying, that team's been banged up all season. Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, literally every major player on that team's missed some time. And they continue to roll the same way. Now it seems like a majority of that roster staying healthy. This might be their best game of the season. So I'm liking the Raiders in this one.
My thing is, it's not Joe Burrow that does it for me. It's Joe Mixon, the other Joe.
The other Joe.
Stayed healthy this entire year. One of the best running backs. When he's healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the league. This year he stayed healthy. The Raiders have stayed in as total defense in general has pretty much been in the bottom half of the league. Rushing, especially rushing wise, 19th against the rush. So I think that Joe Burrow has enough to get it done with his arm, but leaning on Joe Mixon is where they're really going to win this game and thrive. So that's why I take the Bengals. But like I said, I think the Raiders keep it close. I love Derek Carr. I've always thought that Derek Carr has been underrated. I've said it for a couple years now. So I love Derek Carr. Love everything that he brings to the table. But for this game, I'm going to Cincinnati.
All right,
over
just before
under 48 and a half.
I'd take the over in this one. I think both offenses have shown themselves to be high-powered. And just before we move past that little comment of Derek Carr's underrated, I think Derek Carr is the most properly rated quarterback in the NFL. Everyone knows he's good. No one thinks he's great.
I don't think everybody knows he's good. That's the thing, is I really don't. I think most people think he's butt.
He is a middle of the line quarterback. He will win you games, might lose you a game or two, but probably won't. He's very consistently okay with some nice flashes.
I definitely think he loses you some games every once in a while, like when he throws bad interceptions. However, playing against Patrick Mahomes every week.
Twice.
But anyway,
twice a week. He doesn't make the playoffs, so he's not playing no more than twice.
Well, he made the playoffs this year, did he not?
We'll see what happens after this week.
We'll see?
I said we'll see what happens after this week. He's not playing Patrick Mahomes again in the playoffs.
He could.
Probably not.
If he makes to that, yeah, he could.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anyways, all right. Let's jump. Let's move over. Let's move over to a divisional rival, New England and Buffalo, going into Buffalo. It's Buffalo for me.
Yeah, it's Buffalo for me too. Obviously,
I don't know.
We know New England won the game against Buffalo and kind of, slowed down Josh Allen if you look at the stat sheet. But everyone here can remember that was the windy snow game where the goalposts were shaking in the wind, and they didn't know what to do. At Buffalo this week, I actually don't know the weather report, which any good.
They're playing on Saturday, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a high of 11 degrees.
with the wind, Mike. What's the wind?
Yes,
11
the
miles
wind is
per hour.
7 to 11. Yes,
Okay,
7 to 11 miles an hour.
doesn't look snowy. We look like we're gonna have a good game. It's gonna be a cold one. Both teams are prepared for that. I'm still taking Buffalo. Now, I don't know if I take the points in this one though. I would just do Buffalo money line here. I think New England's a team where they're either going to get beat by 15 or they're going to lose by a field goal. And
I'd be pretty comfortable taking Buffalo -4.
okay.
I really do. I think that they learned their lesson, and it's not it wasn't the prettiest game. I mean, we've talked about it, not just us obviously, but like the entire NFL community has talked about how Mac Jones beat the Buffalo Bills throwing the ball 3 times. It's been pounded into everybody's head, and that doesn't sit with the Buffalo Bills. And they're going they could make it to the AFC Championship. I don't think they'd get knocked out by the Patriots. The Patriots just lost to the Dolphins, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, no, I don't think the Patriots are an unbeatable team. We do know their defense has been pretty stellar this year at points, and then also pretty terrible at other ones. So I think the Bills have figured out their game plan to beat the Patriots when it's not 30-mile-per-hour gusts out there. So I'm going to take
that.
Yep.
On top of that, Devin Singletary has finally shown up.
Yeah. I mean, Zach Moss showed up for a few weeks too. I mean, their running back group has still always been their weak point. And
Yes.
even if I was back there running the ball, I'd still be taking Buffalo in this game. I might get a nice little cut block or chip block somewhere, a little run blocking running back out there.
You're the fullback.
I'm way too man. I'm like 50 to 80 pounds too small to be a fullback, Mike. But
you got this. I trust you.
It's big heart.
I trust you in front of me. Yeah. Clear eyes, full heart, can't lose.
There you go.
I started watching Friday Night Lights the other day. Because it finally came back on Netflix.
Ah.
Yeah, so I've been watching that for a hot minute. Or not a hot minute, but a couple episodes. Anyways, Philly at Tampa. John, let me know. Tell me what you think, and then I will tell you what I think.
I think Philly is the only team in the NFC's playoff bracket that should not even be in the NFC's playoff bracket. I think that Jalen Hurts.
They're the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NFC.
Pittsburgh Steelers can win a game or two. There's no situation I see Philly winning this game, and I swear I really hope I'm not, putting my foot in my mouth on, Monday. But man, I just don't see a way where Tampa, even with no Chris Godwin, isn't able to expose Philly's defense, and Tampa's defense isn't able to expose Jalen Hurts' terrible turnovers, terrible decisions, inability to get first downs on a consistent basis. Tampa 9.5, I'll take it.
I'm not going there. I'm not.
No.
Listen,
It's got to be contrarian.
I do. In this one, listen, I shit talked Jalen Hurts this entire offseason. Fantasy-wise.
I shit talked him the entire season as well. Still am.
Yeah. You haven't learned. Your foot's going to be in your mouth. Listen, first of all, -9.5. They already kept it close. They lost by 6 earlier this year. I'm taking the points for sure. And I'm sprinkling half a unit on the Philadelphia Eagles for sure. I do think they can upset the Buccaneers here. I do. The Buccaneers, obviously, everybody's seen the whole AB crap. I don't think that's going to be their demise or anything like that whatsoever. However, I do think that they are weak. They don't have Chris Godwin. Obviously, they potentially are getting Leonard Fournette back. And Mike Evans, your favorite receiver, isn't necessarily 100%, I would say. And
No.
I mean, really is anybody at this point, but it's known that he's banged up. But at the end of the day, and this is why I go this way, at the end of the day, Jalen Hurts has some freaking grit. He's got grit. He's got will. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it, Jalen Hurts has it. And I think he pulls out an upset. I really do this week against the Buccaneers.
All right, so let me tell you why you're wrong.
Let's
And then, so we've got
All
someone.
right, you're like my wife. Let's hear it.
All right.
Why am I wrong?
So I'm gonna tell you all the teams that the Eagles have been able to beat this year, and I want you to tell me one thing that they have in common. All right.
Okay.
The Atlanta Falcons.
Their first name or the last names don't have the letter O in them.
They actually do. The Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
This is Carolina Panthers in mid-October, so this is after they were decent for a little bit. This is post them being exposed. So the Panthers.
October. No, they were pretty good then.
This is in week 8.
They were on their decline. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the Panthers, the Lions. This is October 31st, so this is before their first win.
Listening. Don't name the teams. I'll tell you.
The Broncos,
I can already
the
tell
Saints,
the
Giants.
I can already tell
Washington
you
twice.
They don't have a winning record, John.
No, Mike, they don't have a freaking defense. All right. The only games that the Eagles have been able to win this season are against teams that do not have a competent defense. The Tampa's defense has been nothing but competent for the majority of the season outside of some fluke games. Jalen Hurts has only looked good in games where he's been able to play against teams that aren't able to protect themselves.
Well, technically, I wouldn't say he's looked good.
Exactly,
but
and that too.
He's got this thing. They get it done, and on top of that, Nick Sirianni. Listen, I talk crap about him too. I thought that was the wrong hire, and maybe people stop
decent
listening
to
us.
Possibly
he's a good coach. He's
possibly
a good coach.
Possibly a decent coach. They shouldn't be in the playoffs, Mike. All right.
No. See, I don't think that because they are in the playoffs, and you know what? They are in the playoffs.
They are.
And
they made it.
Once you get in the playoffs, it's no holds bar. And I think this is one of those teams. This is one of those teams that could pull off a Pittsburgh Steelers run. One of the Giants runs where they were like 7-9 or whatever, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. They could, as disgusting as it sounds, they could make a deep run. They could upset team after team after team. And we could be sitting there in February and be like, "Oh my gosh, why did we not see this? Why did we not see this?" Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, and that's not who I'm putting my money on or anything like that. However, I don't think it's a gimme.
No.
And I think that we see it this week. I think that they're gonna put the league on watch.
So you're gonna tell me that you'd bet on Jalen Hurts
plus 9.5.
No. You're saying they can win it. So you're taking money line here, bud. You're taking Jalen Hurts over Tom Brady in the NFL playoffs, which is something you do not bet against.
Here we go.
What did we say last season when the Buccaneers even made it in the playoffs? Everyone expected them to be, hey, they looked halfway decent throughout the season. You just can't bet against Brady. Obviously, can't bet against Brady, not this early into the playoffs. Let alone the Cowboys put up 92 points in the 2 games that they played against the Eagles. The Cowboys alone could take care of the Eagles in this playoff bracket. And I don't even think the Cowboys are going to make it to the Super Bowl. I think the Eagles are out.
They're not playing this. They're not playing.
I understand.
That's an interdivisional. That is an interdivisional game. That does not count.
Okay.
One thing about the NFL, and you can go from division to division to division. One thing about the NFL, when you get into those interdivisional games, They do not matter. They go against all odds. They go against all terms. That does not matter. All I'm saying is I said it. Play the tape. Play the tape. I said Eagles plus 9.5, half a unit, Eagles money line. Doesn't mean I am. My heart says they could win. My heart says they could win.
You want to know how this worked out last time they played, Mike?
Yeah, they lost by 6 points.
They lost. It's gonna happen again. Let's jump into the next game.
Yes.
San Francisco at Dallas. Dallas currently the favor by 3 points. Over unders at 50.5. And for me, I think I might be the contrary one here, but I think I might take San Francisco here in the upset.
I honestly don't want to talk about this game.
Okay.
Because it has an impact on the Miami Dolphins. Not that I don't want to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. But I don't want the 49ers to win, obviously. However, I definitely think there's a pretty good possibility they do. As a betting man, I'm staying away from this game.
Agreed.
As a fan, is probably one of the only times you'll hear me say this. I hope the Cowboys win. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I think the Cowboys should win. The Cowboys should win hands down, no matter what. However, the San Francisco 49ers are not somebody you should overlook. And
absolutely not.
I think Jerry Jones is overlooking them.
I think that it's going to rely on whether or not San Francisco's defense shows up to play this weekend and can slow down Dallas's offense that's been on a little bit of a hot streak tear lately. Zeke Elliott's fully participated completely off the injury report. Could make an impact, but if they can slow down the offense, I think San Francisco's offense just needs to score 20 points. You get 21 points.
San Francisco offense?
Yeah, if they score 21 points and can slow down the Cowboys with their solid defense, which we haven't seen in a little bit, we're good. But like I'm saying, I think San Francisco wins. I'm agreeing with you. I wouldn't place money on this game because it could go so many different directions and all of them make sense.
The last thing the 49ers want, in my opinion, the last thing the 49ers want is to make this a shootout. So I think if they can hold the Cowboys under 24 points, then they should win. If they cannot, I think it's going to be not good for them. So, what do I think happens? I'm taking the Cowboys. I'm taking the Cowboys -3. I'm taking the Cowboys -3. It's a game, like I said, it's a game I don't want to bet on, but I'm taking the Cowboys -3.
Okay. Let's go to Pittsburgh at Kansas City. Kansas City, a 12.5 point favorite. Over under sitting at 45.5. I'll take Pittsburgh plus 12.5 just because of that point spread. And then this is a game where I think could be a little bit of a trap. And maybe I'm setting up everyone to say in 10 years, you never bet against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. But I think Pittsburgh's defense, again, another team when the defense shows up and plays well, all they need is the offense to do the same. And Kansas City has looked great and one of the best teams in the league, and has also looked like a bottom of the top 15, middle of the pack team, and when their defense doesn't look great. So I could see an upset here, but I wouldn't bet for it. But I'll take the points.
Yeah, I'm Kansas City money line. But I will take the points for Pittsburgh for sure. I mean, and I do like the over/under. I like the over of 45.5. So I think that could be not. I wouldn't say turn into a shootout, but I do think the Steelers could put up 17 to 20 points, and the Kansas City Chiefs put up 28 points or so. So And then finally another interdivisional. What we got? That's 2 divisional games this week. Arizona at LA, the Rams. Let's hear it, John. What do you got?
Take the Rams in this one. Money line not taking points. Again, that 4 points there's kind of pushes that field goal win. Over under at 49. I could see the over in this one. I think the Cardinals defense lets the Rams offense really kind of explode, and they're playing catch up for a majority of the game. And I think I like the Rams here.
I definitely like the Rams. I mean, I don't. They're one of my Super Bowl favorites. I think it's gonna be a Rams Packers NFC Championship. And I really do. I hope that Matt Stafford can get one. I think Matt Stafford is a great human being. Great human being, I will say. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good quarterback. Top 10. But a great person in general. Top 10. Don't give me that. Don't give me that face. Top 10. I didn't say he was like a top 3. Okay, top 5. Top 10. He's like not 8 to 10, between 8 and 10. Come on. Okay, name 10 quarterbacks better.
Mike, we don't have time for this.
No, we do. We do have time. We do. You made a face. Let's go. This is what this show is for.
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers,
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. I'm at 4. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson.
Timeout. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson.
Time back in.
Go ahead.
Time's back in. Give me. Oh man. Man. See, like, this is why I don't want to. You're gonna disagree, but I'm gonna take it. Give me Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I would not agree, but okay.
That's fine.
I'll give it to you. That's fine. You're struggling. It's fine.
I'm struggling because I'm trying to remember NFL teams off the top of my head right now. Said Aaron Rodgers, obviously.
So we got 7.
You're gonna think I'm lying and just trying to prove my point here. I would put Russell above Matt Stafford.
Don't even say Russell Wilson. Don't even say Russell Wilson. You've shit talked Russell Wilson this entire year. You hate Russell Wilson.
I don't hate Russell. I said he's overrated.
You said he was
washed and overrated.
Middle of the pack. Don't even put Russell Wilson.
It's middle of the pack.
I knew you were gonna say that just to make your point.
All right. That's fine. That's fine.
Middle of the pack. What are you talking about? There's 16. There are 32 teams. That's 16.
Yeah, but there's hundreds of quarterbacks. Oh, you're right. Okay, 16. All right, give me a second here. I'm blanking. All right, what am I at, 7?
Yes.
Man, that really.
I said between 8 and 10. I said between 8 and 10.
Hold up. I hate to waste everyone's time here.
No, you're good. They're fine. They have plenty of time. They want to hear this.
Give me Tua.
All right.
All right. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, Deshaun Watson. I don't care. Give me Deshaun Watson.
That's fine.
Good. All right. So how many am I at? 8?
8. Between 8 and 10. And like I said, you could argue Kyler Murray.
Did you give me Kyler Murray in those numbers?
I did.
All right. Okay. Low 8. Dak? No, I don't know. I don't like Dak over him. No.
You could put Dak in there.
I don't want Dak. I don't want Dak in there. I'd take Burrow over Dak. And I don't want Burrow on this list either. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, number 1 receiver in the league. Okay, moving on. Next topic.
Okay. All right, moving on. Yes. So we can agree. We're just gonna do that. Every time we disagree, I'm gonna hold up my fingers and we'll start counting them down. All right. So yeah. So Arizona, LA, boom. LA is gonna win. Matt Stafford over Kyler Murray. I don't think Kyler Murray is a better quarterback. I do think he's got more weapons.
Versatile.
More
versatile.
Definitely more versatile. But anyways, so let's jump into the coaching carousel, because obviously this past Monday was Black Monday, and which, if any of you do not know what that means it was
the day of the stock
all the
market
coaches.
crash.
Yeah, no. Black is like a black market's good. Like
No,
like Black Friday, that's good.
Black Monday was the day that the day the stock market crashed for the Great Depression.
Oh really? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
thinking Black Friday.
See, now I got to double check myself.
Anyways, Black Monday, where the coaches get fired, coaches and GMs and things like that, and we had quite a few. Obviously, Las Vegas and Jacksonville, they had already had their coaches gone mid-season. Thank you, Urban Meyer. Thank you, John Gruden. Not really, but outside of that, Black Monday included some coaches fired, being the New York Giants, the Miami Dolphins, Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears. I almost said the Chicago Broncos, and the Denver Broncos. So we had David Culley being fired today. I didn't mention the Houston Texans because he just got fired today. Yesterday,
Black
technically,
Wednesday.
if you're, Black Wednesday, Thursday actually.
Thursday.
Yeah, today's Thursday, but if they're listening, it'll be Friday. So yesterday. David Culley did get let go by the Houston Texans. The New York Giants just let Joe Judge go 2 days ago. I think it was on a Wednesday or Tuesday, something like that.
It was Tuesday.
Miami let Brian Flores go on Monday. Minnesota Vikings let Mike Zimmer go on Monday. Chicago Bears and the Denver Broncos let their coaches go. Matt Nagy and Vic Fangio on Monday. So a lot of you obviously have probably heard this. There's, as Dolphins fans, obviously we've listened to a ton of Brian Flores talk and things like that. But we want to talk about some of the other coaches. Let's start off with one who I think I would say is lucky to be fired. And that's David Culley. As weird as that sounds.
Really?
4 years, $22 million. Okay. He's guaranteed $17 million through the next 3 years. Okay.
Okay.
And he doesn't have to worry about the dumpster fire of an organization that the Houston Texans are. Very minimal draft capital. He doesn't have to go through the whole Deshaun Watson thing.
That's where they're going to build their draft capital. Okay.
If he stayed,
or they have a star QB.
Who knows? Or he goes to jail. We don't know.
He's not going.
We don't know that. We cannot read the future. Can we? I don't think he goes to jail.
I think all but one case has been offered to be dropped.
No, all but 4.
All 4. Okay.
Well, at the time of the trade and things like that, yes, all before. I would love to get paid $17 million to do.
Yeah, I mean, outside of obviously he's guaranteed the remainder of his contract. I think Houston's obviously not one of the better options out of the open spots that are available for a head coach remaining, but I don't think it's the worst. I do think that they have a little bit going on there. I mean, this year they were a team that you expected to beat, but they definitely turned it around on some teams. Looked very good at some points, and they could be a 2 to 3 year rebuild. But I do think that team does have some brighter days ahead of them. And I would love to have my name associated with that. I would hate to be fired after my first chance.
So here's my take on the whole firing and things like that. Like, yes, I was saying, obviously that it's great that he doesn't have to coach or whatever for the Houston Texans. One of the reasons why I think they won 4 games is because of David Culley. Like, I think he is a pretty good coach. He was with the Baltimore Ravens for a while. He was a good coach. He got the best out of his players. And I mean, look at Davis Mills. He was a usable quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Third round pick this year, rookie. And you could even argue that he played better than some of the first round picks.
I would say that he played better than Zach Wilson this year. Statistically, yeah.
Trevor Lawrence. I'm just saying, Trevor Lawrence. He didn't throw a touchdown for 3 months, 2 months in the NFL season. I
Yeah,
mean,
so
I'm not, and don't give me, don't like try to misconstrue what I'm saying that Davis Mills is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence, because I don't think that. However, the year he put up was respectable compared to who he was drafted with, and I do think that was because of David Culley. Now, there's reports that he was fired because he wouldn't make changes to his offensive staff because they were the 32nd ranked overall offense. They also had the Laramie Tunsil thing where they were saying, he wasn't coming back in a timely manner. He was pretending to be injured, and there was some other drama and stuff like that. Obviously the Deshaun Watson thing, other drama within the organization. And they put that on David Culley, and I honestly, I truly, honestly think that was a dumb decision. Obviously, we're avid fans of the Miami Dolphins, both of us. So we have a different take on Brian Flores, I think, than most other. I'm not going to compare us to news outlets, but most other people, because that's what we listen to, daily and things like that. So I don't want to say, I don't want to just jump to conclusions, from what I saw of the Houston Texans, because I didn't watch a ton of them. I don't listen to a ton of their beat writers or watch a ton of their beat writers and things like that. But I do think the firing of David Culley 1 year into his contract was a mistake. I think that he could have been a decent coach there, given the hand he was dealt.
yeah, I mean, if there were some other issues outside of, just production and performance, then yeah, it was terrible. Then, it is what it is. But if that was the only problem, then it was a terrible decision for them. Question though, out of all these open positions, which one's the best? Which one do you think gives you the best opportunity to win some games next season and possibly, be great? Looking at it, personally, obviously Vegas and Minnesota would be some great ones because they already seem to have a good structure and a good team that just needs a little bit of work. But I actually really like the idea of taking over in Chicago. You vamp up that defense a little bit. You got some old guys there that, you're paying a lot of money to, who might be on the back end of their careers. You got a really young offense, a lot of weapons that just need a little bit of guidance. Justin Fields showed some flashes.
Definitely. I think Justin Fields is going to be a great quarterback. If I were going to take over any head coaching spot right now, I think it would be, and I don't want to say it's an easy pick, but it's because it's definitely pretty difficult. But I think the easiest cherry pick answer would be the Las Vegas Raiders, because they're in the playoffs. They've done enough with everything they've gone against. They have, a team that is, I wouldn't say hardened, or I wouldn't say they're hardened against, bad situations and things like that. So I do think that would be a good spot, because I think that you could bring in some. I don't know their cap situation off the top of my head. I don't know, their entire free agency and draft capital situation. However, I do think that being the fact that they have a quarterback who's proven, for the most part, obviously he's got flaws, but has gotten his team to the playoffs, has dealt with some adversity. I think that could be a pretty attractive spot. Second, without them, but I do think Rich Bisaccia is going to be retained, especially if they win this week. And I think they'd be stupid not to at least give him, 2 years.
A 1 year contract, a 1 or 2 year contract, yeah.
Just to see what happens. Because, you've got John Gruden was not a bad coach. I think he was kind of overrated because of the Super Bowl, but I do think that he was a decent coach who took him a little bit to turn the franchise around, but he still like had some things in place, and I think that Rich Bisaccia will take the good things at least and continue on with them. But outside of that, I kind of like Minnesota. I like their offense. Obviously, Kirk Cousins, big cap hit, blah blah blah. Chicago, you're dealing with a young quarterback. I think that Justin Fields could be a great quarterback in the NFL. So that is definitely a another attractive spot. But the Denver Broncos, they've got a defense in place. One of the better defenses in the league. They were better without Von Miller, which is crazy. But they've got a solid defense that you can build upon. And I kind of like Denver. Plus, you've got the rich history. You know, you've got the past history. John Elway back in the day. Plus, you've got a couple Super Bowls with Peyton Manning. And I know that what does it do for me now? But, like, you like that history of an organization that kind of brings pride into the whole, coaching thing. It's like, I was the coach for the Denver Broncos, blah, blah, blah. I think that would be a good spot. Like, okay. I think that could be a close number 2.
All right. So let's just quickly go over some of the brighter sides of these firings. Obviously, let's just clap it up for Chicago. Let's be happy with Chicago
Thank
here.
God.
Finally getting rid of Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, cleaning house.
Except, they didn't get rid of their CEO, but they still got rid of the majority of. 2 out of 3 is better.
We're asking for a lot, Mike. Let's just be happy with the fact that we've been doing something that everyone in Chicago has been asking for since Trubisky was drafted. So he has been 34-30 over the past 4 years and is 0-2 in the playoffs. Did draft Mitch Trubisky, reminder to everyone again, over guys like Watson and Patrick Mahomes. And then signed Andy Dalton to a contract and did this whole Justin Fields carousel this year.
Traded for Nick Foles.
Traded for Nick Foles to only sit Nick Foles for multiple years. Paid him very well to sit the bench. So congratulations, Chicago. Your future does look a little bit brighter. And then before we move on to our dynasty pickups, one more coach I would just want to bring some insight to and just talk about to you. Just because it is our personal one, Brian Flores. Anyone that watches this show knows that we're Dolphins fans. Personally, I know we've had some people that we don't see every day possibly text us to be like, "So how are you feeling?" I just want everyone to know, feeling good. Gives me a little confidence. I'm going to be able to keep this little Tua bobblehead that I got for Christmas by my girlfriend a couple years ago a little bit longer on my desk. A little bit of confidence there. And
at least for the off season.
You know what? I think,
what do you think is gonna happen there? Because we have like legit. We've both been so busy. What are your thoughts on this Brian Flores firing? And I will tell you mine. Then we'll move on.
So me personally,
dynasty buys.
Me personally, I think everyone knows that there's all the reports and rumors that Flores wanted Herbert, and Flores, didn't truly believe in, Tua. And part of the reason that we had that limited offense back last season when it was the Tua Fitzpatrick offense was because Flores didn't trust Tua to take over in that offense, as well as his coordinating staff, and wanted to just give him a let's see what we got kind of thing. I think Flores is a big part of the reasons that we were seeing the talks of the Watson trade. The reasons we saw Greer and Steve Ross going to make efforts to go pick up Watson while we still had a chance. And I think that after Tua won those 7 games, I think Ross and Greer kind of said, like, okay, he alone is not the problem. Along with Flores and him getting into an argument after the Titans game, I think this solidifies that for at least another year, we're still the Tua experiment. And I think that they chose one side or the other, and the side that I've spent more money on ended up staying in Miami. So let's go.
You don't have a Flores jersey, that's for sure.
Exactly. When's the last time you bought a Flores jersey, Mike?
Never have. All right. So here's my take for you, John. The media is trying to make this a Tua versus Flores thing, and I don't think that's what it was. I do think that listen. I don't agree with Omar Kelly's takes, his personal takes on.
I haven't even seen them.
Okay, so I don't agree with his personal takes. Like he'll hint at this and he'll hint at that, and he'll say, "I feel this way, I feel that way about the team, whatever." But when he comes out and says something in regards to the team, like factually that happened, that like actually happened with the team, I believe that because he does take pride in his reporting. You know, he does take pride in it. He makes sure it's verified and things like that. Things that I have seen him say, not takes, not opinions, but things that he's factually said, I have seen throughout the years. I followed him for 11 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that he is a trustworthy source as far as facts go. Okay. He came out and said, if Brian Flores wanted Justin Herbert, he would have gotten Justin Herbert. Like that was a group decision. That was a Brian Flores. That was a Chris Greer. That was a Stephen Ross decision. Okay.
That sounds more opinionated than factual. I mean, if he wanted, if he wanted Herbert, he would have got Herbert. I mean, that doesn't sound like it's a.
There's a whole tweet thread. Okay. I was paraphrasing the entire tweet thread.
Okay.
So it's a 3-part tweet. Long. It uses up all 280 characters. Yeah. Okay. On top of that, I do think that it wasn't just Brian Flores who wanted Deshaun Watson. I think that it was, in my opinion, it was all three. All three. Stephen Ross is 82, 83 years old. He's gonna die soon. Okay, he doesn't have that long. I mean, come on now. Like, I mean, we're being real here, right?
Flip that and put that in the intro.
Yeah, he's gonna die here. He's gonna die soon. I mean, I don't know the guy's health, but I mean, 80-something years old.
All right,
you don't have that much that long.
Okay.
He wants a Super Bowl soon. Okay.
Okay.
He wanted Watson too. And he wouldn't in his interview, and I still don't think that Chris Greer is safe because at the end of the interview that he just did, at the end of the season, Chris Greer was not there. And typically they are. They do a GM, a coach, and an owner, a 3-way interview. At the end of the season, it was only Stephen Ross. So I don't think that Chris Greer is 100% safe. Anyways. He wants to see a Super Bowl. I think that he wanted a quarterback, somebody that could lead them to that. So I do think that he had a part in it. I think that Chris Greer had a part in it. Chris Greer has worked at the Dolphins for 20 years. Started from lower level management and moved all his way up. I do think that if there was a article, I think it was in the Miami Herald, that talked about Chris Greer and how he is. They didn't say kiss ass, but hinted around that. He does what Ross wants. What whoever will save his job will do. So I do think that the media, at the end of the day, the media is trying to make this more of a Tua versus Brian Flores thing, where at the end of the day they just could not get along and things like that. I don't think Tua is safe, and I don't think Chris Greer is safe.
So for me, the reason I agree. I don't think it's just a straight Tua and Flores thing. But I think, and I'm also agreeing with you in the fact that it was all three parties back in like week 5 through this offseason making these moves to continue talks about picking up Watson. But during that time is when not only was Tua being talked about being traded next offseason, blah, 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 before the deadline, the entire Dolphins locker room was having altercations, bad talk about Flores, continuous talks about how Flores could be cut midseason, especially after all these losses, and he's losing the locker room, doesn't get respect from the players, blah, 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 blah. I think that once they saw that turnaround after, the team turning around to playing like a solid quarterback, Flores continuing to not have the locker room behind him. I don't know. There one time during any of the games that I saw this season that I saw Flores at any point interacting with players in a happy manner, even after a win. Even in the way that he spoke about the players after the game, it was never this guy's great. I just feel like he was never a very personable coach and what was needed in that locker room. And I think that once he lost the locker room about halfway through the season is when the management just decided to shift their focus from letting him build this team to this just isn't going to work out. And I'm not saying he was completely safe, but I think that we at least have another year of him. I don't think there's too much of a quarterback market for us to go out and try to trade for someone. Watson, obviously we have this pre-talks about Watson, but that doesn't mean that we're the only option now or that he even is going to be leaving. And there's obviously not a quarterback that we're going to be drafting to win next season. So I think that our best bet is to roll with him, and I think that they're going to go that way.
Yeah, just to close it out, I don't think I do believe Ross. In his last interview, he said that he believes in Tua. However, the next head coach is going to be the one who decides, what happens, as far as personnel go. So, and I do believe that. So, anyways, let's jump into our 10 dynasty buys, and then we will get out of here because it's been a fun episode. It's been a good episode. We didn't even talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
We'll have time. We've got plenty of time this offseason. All right. So Mike, give me one of your guys. Who are you buying in this offseason?
All right, real quick, because I know John does not believe in this whatsoever, and I'll just give you a 25-second. Why do you buy CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Yes, he was banged up this year. Has he lived up to his expectations of being? 2 years ago we were talking about him, or he was being drafted number 1 overall in rookie drafts. Listen, everybody's down on him, okay? I'm not saying he has a top 12, not even a top 12 upside, okay? Not even top. He does have top 12 upside. I wouldn't say he's got top 12 guaranteed written all over him like people were drafting him to be and things like that, okay? But I do think that he can be a solid piece to your team, and the way he finished this year and the way really this entire year, plus his rookie year combined, you and I were both pretty hot on him. He was going into this year.
I want to say he was a RB 20-ish in the draft this year.
Less than that. No, he was
24 or something.
No, he was top 12. He was back
this year.
He was either top 12 or top 15 to 13, somewhere around that. He was pretty high. He was at the beginning because you could get CMC, Darren Waller, and CEH all in the same draft, and that was one of my big go-tos, and you would have lost your league if you did that, picking the number 1. But anyways, CEH, I think you can buy him, for a pretty cheap price, and relatively cheap, and still get some production out of him. Obviously, and you've got some high-end upside. I think he has the upside to be top 12, but I think you could buy a good or decent low-end running back too. And I don't think it costs you that. It's good depth on your team, who has some upside. At the end of the day, that's my take on it. I think it's the upside for the low price. I'm not saying he's gonna break out next year. I'm not saying anything like that. But I think that every few weeks he could give you some solid production, and people are getting done with him. So that's why I'm buying him.
Dynasty formats, I don't think that he's, I don't think you're getting him super, super cheap, and not cheap enough to where you want to, very likely he is continuing to be in a committee next year where they possibly bring in another running back. Obviously, they don't trust him on the goal line this season. They didn't trust him last season. I don't think that he's ever going to be that fantasy stud and he might have some usage week to week, but he's definitely not someone that I'm going to be going and spend any capital on picking up. If he falls off to the waivers, I will be the first person there to pick him up, but not someone that I want to put my name on and take any shots with. For all we know, next year could be his last season in the NFL. High-end running backs fall off very, very quickly, and you're grabbing him after his second year, and he's already shown problems with injuries this year.
Yeah, but he's got a guarantee of 4 years. So, I mean,
guaranteed they'll pay him. But I mean, like he'll there's a possibility that he's not even a fantasy relevant running back in 2 years, or is someone that's only relevant because the starter went down. I just don't think I want him long term. Maybe throughout the offseason I might change my mind, but right now I'm not taking any shots on him.
I feel that that's fine, and that's fine. I completely understand. Like I get it. Like he hasn't lived up to expectations whatsoever. I think his expectations were, set too high,
way too high, and then way too high again this year.
I'll be one of those people that say I was one of them, and obviously it didn't pan out. However, I do think that because his expectations were so high and like where he was, and he's just fallen down so much, I think that people are just starting to get that sour taste in their mouth. So that's why I talk about him. But anyways, let's talk about somebody else. Somebody else that you put on the list that I 100% agree with.
Allen Robinson. Absolutely. Allen Robinson, someone that you guys should be targeting heavily, has played a majority of the games this year, has looked absolutely terrible. And personally, I don't want to blame it on bad quarterback play because, he's thrived under bad quarterbacks before.
We can blame it on Matt Nagy.
You can blame it on Matt Nagy's play calling, especially because there's a lot of games where they weren't even throwing the ball in Chicago sometimes. I mean, you're not going to put up any fantasy receiving numbers. You're not going to make great catches with a rookie quarterback who's running for his life the first week, getting thrown to the ground. Once he moves on to a different team, it's more than likely he's going to be a number 2 receiver for some team out there. And I think he's going to look much different. Possibly someone that's going to be making those big plays and getting you like 70, 80 targets a season, maybe even hitting that 60, 70 catch mark. He is a very, very talented receiver with at least a couple more years left in the tank. And I'm all over him in Fantasy Dynasty this year. So if you're in any of my leagues and you want to get rid of him, buy him cheap.
I think that I definitely think that he could be a solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 for you in dynasty leagues, and you can get him for cheaper than that. Let's go on. Somebody that's I don't agree with you.
I'll say it. Doesn't agree with me. I'm very hot on Kellen Mond in this offseason as well. I think he's someone that you could pick up for essentially nothing. More than likely going to be throwing him into another trade that you're doing just because you need a little bit more, blah, blah, blah. Whoever has him doesn't have a huge value for him. He hasn't done anything. He's only gotten, I want to say, 5 attempts this season, and that was last week. There were reports early that, Zimmer wasn't his biggest fan, and he already sees enough of him at practice. He doesn't need to get him in the game. Zimmer's gone. They fired their GM. And usually what happens when they clean house is they do a quarterback change. They didn't draft, their starting quarterback last year because they had Kirk Cousins. So they'd let Kellen Mond sit behind and learn a lot from a great quarterback. Fun fact, Kirk Cousins has a $45 million cap hit next year. And very possible that they decide to do something very interesting with those numbers and move them along to a different team. There were some, I don't know how serious the reports were, some rumors, I will call them that, of Kirk Cousins possibly coming to Miami. Mike brought the option up to me and thought how I would feel about that. And we talked about that a little bit. But I do think that there's a scenario where we see Kellen Mond, the starting quarterback for Minnesota next year. And if you're not paying anything for him and you could use a quarterback, I would definitely be trying to pick up someone that you could use for a couple weeks at a very, very low cost. Maybe a 3rd round draft pick. You never know. I'll take it.
Yes. So I think that Kirk Cousins stays in Minnesota. At the end of the day, they're in. He's fully guaranteed 45 mil. So or he's guaranteed. Yeah, he's guaranteed for 45 mil. So and I don't think unless they eat a lot of that cap space, I don't think that they trade him. And maybe they do, but even then, I don't like. I think that, and I get. I mean, I guess you could trade for him, for down the line, but I don't think that he is a long term solution there. And I do think that like you said, the new regime is going to come in and choose their own quarterback and the quarterback they want to go with. I don't think Kellen Mond would be that guy. I think they would go out and draft somebody to be their quote unquote guy.
They just drafted him to be the quote unquote guy to fill in after he leaves.
Yeah, but Mike Zimmer's gone. The guy who drafted him is gone, and he didn't even want to play him when he had the chance. He should have played him.
They only drafted him because he was such a high value and he fell.
Yeah,
guy's talented.
I didn't say he's not. I do think that he could be sneaky, but I don't think that going after Kellen Mond is a spot I want to be in. I mean, yes, you're paying pretty cheap for him. So you could it's dart throw, but I don't think it's a throw that I want to make. I guess is what I'm saying, because I do think the Vikings are, we don't even know who their coach is going to be, and I think they'll draft somebody before they'll go to Kellen Mond. So,
all right.
Mike Thomas, somebody I traded for, and he was actually on my trade for radar last season. Disappointed me. So I do have him. I traded for him. I did trade for him. But I'm kind of skeptical now. But John, this is your guy. Well, one of your guys. You like him?
I'm following on the trend you died on last year. Obviously, you didn't want to. You were telling everyone to take Michael Thomas because he's coming off that bum year, and I can tell you he did not perform any better this year. And if he plays, he will definitely produce more than he did next year than he did this year. So
we produced as much as he did this year.
No, he went to practice at least once. I didn't go to New Orleans. I don't know about you.
Produced.
In a game? No. Yeah. So I think Michael Thomas is a good pickup. Depending on what you're trading for him, obviously you're not valuing him or trying to grab him for a number one wide receiver value. You're looking to try to get him as like a mid wide receiver someone's just given up hope on, or someone that's possibly rebuilding and could use just getting rid of him and not taking the risk on him. Maybe alleviating some of those mid-caliber receivers and trading them off to that rebuilding team for a shot at someone who could come back next season and has proven himself to be an extremely talented receiver when playing. Has had, his 3 seasons over 100 catches, has a single season reception record in 16 games. Definitely think that he's someone that if you can get him cheap, scoop him up while you can. If you see someone throw him on the trade block, shoot him an offer, because even if you get rejected, oh well.
If you can get him for a price of like a wide receiver 3 or something like that, or I think a situation that you just brought up is actually, because I didn't agree with you at first, because not that I got burned.
Because you've been hurt. It's because you got hurt. You're scorned. You're spiteful. You
hate
him now.
I didn't get
hurt,
him. I didn't get hurt though. I got a top 3 pick, and I traded away Stephon Diggs, and I got a top 3 pick, and I got Michael Thomas. So obviously the Michael Thomas side hurt, but I do think, like you said, I think you said the perfect example, because people who have Michael Thomas, most of them are guys who won or competed 2 years ago, in their league. So I think at that point, most of the time, most of them are rebuilding right now. So I do think that if you go after a guy or have somebody in your league who wants to rebuild and has Michael Thomas, I think that is somebody. Yes, you go after and get, if you can find somebody, in that situation. So, Romandre Stevenson, somebody who had up and down games, especially through the middle of the season, and then had more down than up at the back end. We were talking 2 years ago. We were talking about Sony Michel, and we were talking about Damian Harris, and it was a Sony Michel train, for a year and a half, and then Damian Harris took over. This year is Damian Harris. Follow the trends, people. Follow the trends. It's going to be Romandre. Maybe not at the beginning of next year, but the back half.
We've already seen it. We've seen Damian Harris get banged up. When he's not in, it's Romandre if he's hot. And as soon as he slows down, they've been getting Brandon Bolden in, some of those other guys. We all know the Patriots like to play that multi-headed running back game. But what we're going to be seeing coming up soon is the fact that Romandre Stevenson has proven himself to be at least head number 1 or number 2 of that multi-headed running back game. Damian Harris is healthy. Stevenson's going to be right there behind him. And with the fact of how many players and running backs got hurt throughout the season, how many players didn't even play 10 plus games, you need depth. This is a beautiful depth piece for you with upside if that trend does continue, like Mike's talking about, where he does take over this backfield or for 60% of the carries. I love Romandre Stevenson. Mike called him out early in the season, in the preseason during draft time as his late round flyer pick. And so I got to give you credit there. He is someone that is extremely talented. 4.5 yards per carry, only on 133 carries though, but still a great number to have. I like him a lot.
Actually, I talked about him before he was even drafted by the Patriots. I wish he would have gone somewhere where he could have been a workhorse when he was at Oklahoma, but still. Yeah, that's actually Rob. Rob is in the chat. I did not see that, but he said, "Let's go, boys. It's officially Dynasty content season. Explain to me, why ARSB isn't the biggest sell in Dynasty. Only popped off, so Monroe St. Brown, who's not on the list here, but only popped off with no target competition. 2, draft capital doesn't support his job security. And 3, profiles an easily replaceable slot guy."
Okay.
So why isn't Amon-Ra St. Brown the biggest sell, John?
So I will say this. He is possibly the biggest Dynasty sell right now.
Potentially, yes.
You're right now, you're looking at someone who is possibly wasn't even drafted in your rookie draft, more than likely wasn't even drafted in your redraft leagues, and started popping off in week 12 like a crazy man out of hell. And no, you aren't looking for him to repeat those same numbers next season. So yeah, he is the greatest sell, one of the greatest sells in Dynasty, in my opinion. But just because he's my dude and I really love this receiver, I'm going to have to defend a couple of those points that you just made on this guy. Number 1, only started popping off when the target share when he was the only reliable target. First off, he started popping off when DeAndre Swift was out and Jamal Williams was out. Then they started using him for the shallow run game, or the shallow pass game, as well as using him as some interesting rushing options. And they kind of realized, oh crap, this guy's a little shifty. Then TJ Hawkinson went down after week 13, and the guy went from, hey, already getting his 12 targets a game and continued to get those 12 targets a game because he's an extremely talented receiver. You're saying he profiles as a receiver that's extremely replaceable. So does Deontay Johnson. Player that, highly targeted player, very quick, can make good cuts, can take a little bit of contact. Definitely not top 10 receiver material, but great fantasy player. I like him. And then the consistency, just because he's the only available receiver there doesn't actually mean he's the only available receiver there. We see it throughout teams throughout the league where there's no great talent anywhere on the team, and there's still no great talent anywhere on the team. We see it in New England. We see it in Philadelphia. They've got players around, and just because they're the only ones there doesn't mean that they're always going to be there. They're still able to produce. Devonta Smith, someone that I hated going into the season, did very well over there, especially with a quarterback that didn't produce a lot of passing stats. Definitely sell Amon-Ra St. Brown, but respect the name for at least another year.
I'm okay, so I'm not selling Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not. Shoot. He was drafted. Let's see.
Fourth round, I believe.
Second round. He was drafted in the second round of most drafts. Okay.
Oh, rookie drafts. Okay.
Yes, of rookie drafts. Yes. Rookie drafts, he's drafted in the second round most of the time. Sometimes he snuck up into the late end of the first round if you were hot on him, or fell back further into the second, or early third. So listen, in that spot, that's why we have those second, third, and fourth round picks. Do most of those guys pan out? No. I mean, shoot, even some of our first rounds don't pan out. I drafted him to do exactly what he did. To give me that upside that he has, to get those catches. I am keeping Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not going to buy him because his draft capital is too high. I'm not going to sell him because at the end of the day, he has the talent to go higher or stay consistent, especially in a team that doesn't have an identity. I mean, what are the Lions other than Dan Campbell? I mean, we see these Twitter posts and things like that. Dan Campbell's always hyping shit up, and don't get me wrong, I love Dan Campbell, but I mean, one day they run the ball a shit ton, the next day they throw the ball a shit ton. Okay, so, but at the end of the day, Amon-Ra St. Brown is exactly who we wanted him to be as far as dynasty value goes. He gives you that upside when you draft players in the second, third, and fourth round of rookie drafts. You're looking for upside, and to be honest, that's where I hit. I'm not patting myself on the back. I might break my arm here, but Terry McLaurin, very similar draft status. He was drafted in the second round, very similarly to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think you keep Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think you go buy him. I don't think you sell him. I think you keep him.
I would just like to point out that Amon-Ra does not get enough credit for the numbers that he put up this season. He's got 90 catches, 900 yards, 5 touchdowns. 90 catches, only 14 less than Jalen Waddle. And Amon-Ra wasn't even really looked at in this offense until week 4. If this man would have been used throughout the entire season the way that he was, easily would have been the highest total receptions out of all the rookies this season.
Oh yeah. He had 9 more catches than freaking Jamar Chase.
He earned his role this season with that low draft capital. Yes, it came on the fact that, the receiving core was cut, broken, and just bad around him. He earned that spot with that low capital. It wasn't just handed to him because he was the first and second round pick. I think that you're looking at someone who does have a future with Detroit. I just don't know if he's able, if you're going to get that week 13 through 18 game stretch again. And that's why I would still trade him off, is just because, yeah, he's great. I think you can get a lot for him now. We don't know what that quarterback situation is going to look like next year. But what I do know is
you can't get much worse than Jared Goff and Tim Boyle.
But what I do know is the two faces of the Detroit Lions right now, as we're moving into this offense, still DeAndre Swift, and now it's Amon-Ra St. Brown on all of their posters. It is. Go look at some media, man, on their Twitter.
I mean, maybe on the Twitter, but it's TJ Hawkinson. Still.
Maybe because he's still hurt. They haven't gotten any updated photos, but
exactly. All right, let's move on to somebody. Thank you, Rob, for that question, because that's a very good question. Because honestly, he was on this list before, John had him on this list and took him off this list, and we talked about it a little bit. And this is somebody who John and I both agree on. I'm pretty sure. He had some really good games, and Rob will like this, I think. Tyler Huntley, I think, showed, at the very least, he is definitely Baltimore's backup quarterback. And I think as far as fantasy goes, I would not be surprised if a team took a shot on him. Like if a team said, "Hey," talk to Baltimore and said, "Hey, what do you want? Trade for him, whatever." Don't know his entire contract situation, but I I would go get Tyler Huntley. He didn't have the best ending, obviously losing, um, the last week against the Rams, but still going up against tough defense. Still, I think he could have some serious fantasy value, especially in two quarterback leagues. And if Lamar Jackson goes down, I think he, like I said, solidified himself as the Baltimore Ravens backup for sure. But if not, I think he could get a shot somewhere else. I think that somebody could trade for him because I do think he's talented.
Yeah, we saw it this offseason. I mean, this offseason was a huge quarterback market. Everyone needed a quarterback, whether it was luckily there was enough coming through the draft where teams took their shots in their franchise quarterbacks. This year, we don't have a bunch coming through, and yet we're still in a situation where we have 5 to 8 teams that are still looking to possibly upgrade at their quarterback this offseason, if not more. Tyler Huntley really had some great flashy games. Looked very good. I hate to put words out there like this, but some people were calling him the Walmart Lamar Jackson. No, you got him at the same store as Lamar Jackson. You just a different model number. The guy can run, the guy can throw. Hasn't really been groomed to be the starting quarterback in an NFL team, and I think with a coach that works with him and tries to build an offense around him, I'd be very surprised if a team doesn't take a shot on him this offseason and decide to at least make him earn a spot as a starter.
I agree.
Very talented guy.
You're good. Sorry. Yeah, no, 100% agree. I mean, 100%. Rob says, I don't see any more upside to Amon-Ra than what we saw. Hard to see this not being his absolute ceiling. I wouldn't bet on any more than what we saw. All I see is down. Well, Rob, he only put up his quote-unquote ceiling that you say for 5 games.
6 games.
And no, 5. Well, technically 5. I mean,
okay.
If you want to count the last week, 18. I don't count the last week. 5 games. It is a 17-game season now. 16 in fantasy for most part. So I guess if 5 is your limit, then sure. But I think we saw it for 5 games straight, not just 5 games like throughout the season. We saw it 5 games straight. So I disagree with you there. I don't think that's his ceiling. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay.
Juju Smith-Schuster. A dynasty buy, and here's why. Okay. He had this massive number on his head. I remember when one of the first years I started Dynasty League. It was a year after his blow up year, like 1,500 yards or whatever. He's not a number 1 receiver on a team. He's not going to be that on a team whatsoever. However, and teams know that. I mean, it's not just us, like you see it, I see it. But he's going to go to a team who already has somebody there as their number 1. Like, they're not going to pay him to come there to be their number 1 because he's just not that. You've seen him fail, and you've seen him fail, and you've seen him succeed. He succeeded as a number 2 on a team, and he's failed as a number 1 on a team. No team is going to pay him to be their number 1 receiver. He is going to be a number 2 receiver. I think if you get him now with that shoulder injury and things like that, they did designate him from IR potentially to play this week. He could, pay you dividends because he not many people want Juju anymore. He's not that hot flashy toy anymore.
I guess maybe I'm the person you buy him from. I don't know if I really want to go spend for him. Just like the same way that we keep seeing him in commercials and all over social media is because he's a well-known name. He's, for some reason, made a very, very good spot for himself outside of the world of football. And so anyone in fantasy, that name value is going to carry a lot. I don't think that you're getting him cheap because if you have him, you're more than likely going to want to take the shot on him. Unless you're offering something, getting offered something, you're like, oh, well, crap, I'd rather just take that. So I don't know how cheap you can get him. If you can get him cheap, great. But again, he's going to be a free agent this year. He's not going to be back in Pittsburgh. And he's going to be a number 2 receiver somewhere. Hopefully they have a good quarterback. And hopefully it's a pass-heavy offense. And hopefully it's in a role where he's actually going to get utilized a lot and not just be that secondary receiver. And so I don't know if I want to put any value into his future.
But that's the thing. Don't you think that the person who owns him is saying the same exact thing? Like, hopefully this, hopefully that, hopefully this. And I think that's a lot of these dynasty buys are like, I wouldn't say hope, but it's like, I mean, it is. A lot of them, not all of them. Like, we believe that they're going to be put in a better position to thrive through fantasy. So that's kind of where I'm at with Juju. So, Michael Carter, another one, had a good middle of the season. I actually sold him. I tried to win this year in a. Brooks said he's a hater. Yeah, I agree. Rob is a hater. But Michael Carter, I think that. I think that he's a good buy. I mean, I don't like the Jets offense entirely, but Michael Carter had some flashes, and then he had some games where you're like, he should have thrived and he didn't. So I'm buying Michael Carter.
Yeah, I think he's another great buy. He was someone that showed his ability to work the game on the ground and through the pass catching role. Was a pretty heavy used weapon in that offense when he was healthy. So another offseason, some more upgrades to that offensive line for the Jets in this draft. And I think we see Michael Carter take some steps forward and become an even bigger part. So I like him. I think he's a good buy. And you're not getting him super cheap. No way. Not in Dynasty. You're not getting him super cheap. But you could get him cheap enough to get some value out of him.
Yeah. He could be a top 3. Could be a top 3 Dynasty running back right now.
Could be. I mean, he could finish RB3 next year. Let's be realistic.
Yeah, think about Najee, Javonte, and Michael Carter. I think those are the top 3 running backs from last year's class. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, locked up top, but you could get a lot of value from him. Nico Collins, another guy. Oh, Chris Brooks said, wait till Becton comes back. Becton might not be back on the team. I don't want to, burst your bubble there. There's definitely some rumors that the Jets are over Becton. Ooh, Rob said Juju over Amon-Ra. I don't think I'd agree with that.
How do we block people?
Oh, we're gonna block people? John, we only have
hey, we got 6.
We only have 2 consistent followers, and that's Chris and Rob. Okay. We're speaking to them. Nico Collins, listen, another instance. Rookie receiver in a bad situation, made the best of it. At the end of the day, I think he could be. He's not. I wouldn't say I'd rather have Amon-Ra than Nico, but Nico could be a solid, grab, give you that wide receiver 3, low end wide receiver 2 upside, for a few years to come.
Yeah,
Juju for Sutton. Who won that trade?
I kind of like the Sutton end of it.
I know. I'm gonna take the Juju side of it. Juju's only 24, 25.
Sutton's what, 25, 26?
28.
This was his 3rd season.
27. Yeah, Juju was like the youngest kid like 2 years ago. He's like 26, 27.
Sutton's 26.
So, and Juju's 24, 25?
25.
25. So, I don't know. But Sutton's had a ton of like knee. Well, he had the knee injury, right? One knee injury,
You're,
two knee injuries.
you're gonna talk about the guy that's coming off of what injury?
A shoulder injury, and he's already back.
Okay. And then what injury did he have in 2019? They kept him out for 4 games.
I don't know. What did he have?
I don't remember. I don't have it in front of me. I was just curious.
Probably like a hamstring, maybe a TikTok toe.
One of them.
elbow, tennis
One of
elbow.
them.
Like he could
One
do
of
a
them
TikTok.
has provided and produced as a number 1 receiver for a team. The other one fell apart when given that role.
Technically, no. Actually,
No.
Juju did lead their team in receiving.
When AB was gone?
Yeah, when AB was there.
No, when AB was okay.
He was number one.
Juju was not the number 1 receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're not talking total receptions and yardage here. Blah blah blah. Juju was not the number 1 receiver for the Steelers that year.
All I'm saying.
You can call it a 1A 1B, but I will not sit here and say I accept.
All I'm saying, and don't. I mean, let's not act like Cortland Sutton was this like amazing thing over in Denver.
I mean, I wouldn't say he was an amazing thing, but I'd say that in 2019 he
look at Cortland Sutton's best year. Look at Juju Smith-Schuster's best year. Let's just compare those.
Let's talk
All
about
right,
quarterback situations and how they're different. 2019 Broncos. Versus Big Ben in his prime.
Your guy was
with Le'Veon Bell and AB on the roster.
Chris and Rob, please back me up on John and Drew Lock's man crush. What was it? Last year, the year before, 2 years ago? Come on now.
Drew Lock wasn't even the quarterback in 2019, so he's off the table. He wasn't the quarterback until like the last 4 games, so it wasn't even him that year. And I did. I liked him.
Yeah,
I liked him.
I know you. No, you loved him.
I had high hopes for him, Mike.
You were in love.
I loved him as much as you love Kenny Golladay, so we can wipe both those names off the slate.
You loved him. You stalked him. You smelled his underwear.
I never said he was going to be a top 2 in his position.
You did. You said top.
I never said he was going to be quarterback 2.
You said top 1. You said quarterback 1 on the year.
Sarcastically.
You said quarterback
sarcastically. 1. You sat there and told people to draft Kenny Golladay as wide receiver 2.
Never did.
Brooks is in the chat. He listened.
Brooks, tell John he's lying. All right. Tell John he's lying. All right. Cadarius Tony, last one. This is number 10. Numero 10. Cadarius Tony. Been injured up and down, the entire year. Tons of upside. One of my favorite wide receivers coming out of the draft this year. Another rookie. I'm here to defend the sun god, boys. So I don't think he's talking to either of us. So
not yet.
Cadarius Tony. Chris didn't make it into our listener league, did he?
No, not this year.
That's why he's salty. He said he was high on Golladay last year too. Cadarius Tony.
I think Cadarius Tony's
Go buy him.
Good value to go pick up.
Go buy him. I mean, he does have a top 5 eventually. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying next year. I'm not even saying the year after. Eventually, top 5 upside on the year for a wide receiver. So go buy him now while you can. Yes, he's had the injuries. Yes, the Giants are in shambles. However, buy him now. Buy him now while you can. So that's it.
Yeah.
Damn. We got most of our watchers like at the end of the show.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys have nothing better to do at midnight. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for making it enjoyable. Absolutely. But thank you guys so much. So if you guys are just tuning in and you guys missed out on the beginning of the show, we did go over our playoff predictions, how we think that's going to break down. We went over some of the coaching firings, how we feel about the ones that we're the most related to. And then obviously you guys caught up for the Dynasty buys. So if you guys want to jump back, this will be all posted on YouTube. And then hopefully this audio will be on the podcast as well. So if you guys want to listen, check up and see where we went wrong.
All right. He said, "Don't worry, boys. I already got my belt fitting for next year's championship." All right. All right.
Mike,
Well, we don't.
I did give him my word that we would give him extra entries into the listener league because he won the free league.
That's not how this works, unfortunately.
Okay, we'll see. Brooks, I put my word out there for you. I did my best.
All right. So, all right, boys. We will see you later. Rob says, "Looks like the Sutton side won." He.
Clap it up.
Anybody who spells ha 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 or laughs with an E, that's just weird. That's just weird stuff. All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a